This is Sheila Butler with Successful Women Talk, and I want to say thank you for tuning into this interview. I am most excited. We are interviewing today Debbie Saviano. She is a LinkedIn marketing guru. So Debbie is going to share with us some exciting tips and tricks on how to use LinkedIn, how she got started on LinkedIn, and some tips and tricks to help you maybe change and develop your LinkedIn profile as well. How to maybe use that social media platform in just 30 minutes a day. We're going to discuss the importance of networking and relationship building. It's just a fun-filled, very energetic chat with Debbie Saviano. So tune in. Don't forget to leave your comments on what you thought about the interview. And don't forget to join our community at www.successfulwomentalk.com. Thanks a lot, guys. Hi, everyone. This is Sheila from Successful Women Talk, and I am most excited today. We have very special guest, Debbie Saviano. Debbie does LinkedIn for business, but she has a passion for people. So we're going to learn her story, and let's get started. So welcome, Debbie.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here, Sheila. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I certainly appreciate it. Hey, we're going to start out by something kind of simple.
Okay.
Well, sort of simple. We'll see.
Okay.
I want to know a little bit about you, how you got started, a little bit about your background, how you got started that led you to where you are today.
Well, we all have a story and we all have a journey, and mine was I started out in education. My first career was education, and it's kind of a funny story, but my husband was a principal, started out teaching. Well, we were young, didn't have the money for me just to go to college, so I drove a yellow school bus. And so in those days, no air, just a little bit of heat, no power steering, and standard shifts. So you drive with 90 people behind you, 3 in each seat and 12 standing, you get really good with relationships. So I started out driving the school bus, knew I wanted to be a principal from the beginning, and so I taught 4.5 years, and then I entered administration. I was blessed to have 5 schools that I was principal at in Plano, and then after that journey, then I retired, really with no intention in mind, but I started doing social media. Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and kind of narrowed the funnel to LinkedIn. And so I started working with LinkedIn. So that's been my journey. Education first, career, totally different journey now, and social media is what I'm doing. So
interesting. That's an interesting story. So let me ask, did you use social media when you were a principal in the school district, or did you kind of learn about it after you were totally out?
Well, I was very fortunate and blessed to be in a school district that valued technology. So, we had, every classroom had 6 computers, and so we were very tech savvy. But social media was just kind of beginning. I mean, I joined LinkedIn, years ago, but didn't do too much with it just because I knew I had to, like a lot of people, you join, you do it, but you didn't really, take advantage of the gifts of it. So, yes, I used it, but not much. Emails and communication really was more the factor at that time. If I were there today, you bet you I would be using it. In every facet possible, but yes, it was mainly email and communication.
Very interesting. So you looked at Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, and then probably because of your background being a professional background, you kind of sort of migrated toward and were attracted more to the LinkedIn side of that.
Yes. And see, that's what happens. I love Twitter. Pardon me. I love Facebook, but they're real social. And with LinkedIn, it's everyone who's on LinkedIn is there for a purpose, and they have a business mindset. Physically, emotionally, everything, intellectually, they're thinking business. And so I always tell people, everyone has to buy a product. Why not it be from you, from me, from a friend? So LinkedIn is a professional platform. And so that's why I obviously, was drawn to LinkedIn. And I love LinkedIn.
I love LinkedIn. So you were new to it, so you just kind of learned it yourself, and then you realized there was a need?
Well, yes and no. I didn't, as I said, didn't start out with an intention, but David Simon Garland, who I'm sure a lot of your listeners know with The Rise to the Top, who I consider a guru of mine and just a huge catalyst for me. I started listening to David because he was wild and crazy, and the best gift, you could learn so much. Right. And so started listening to him, Derek Halpern, Lewis Howes, Amy Porterfield, all the people he brings on to his show, Sean Markley, all these people you can learn from. So I started learning from David. And from him, then those people I could learn, which is the gift of social media and the gift of the internet. So I learned all that and spent, every webinar I could attend, went to conferences, had conversations, studied my education background, and discovered I had a niche. Because LinkedIn is with any technology. There's a lot of gifts there and a lot of possibilities, but I found that people in professional work, they were busy running their business. They didn't have time to learn that. So that's where I entered. And of course, everyone has a different gift, and my gift is I focus on relationships, because to me it's all about the people, and it's all about getting to know people. My favorite quote of all time is Eleanor Roosevelt, and I used to preach it at school all the time. No one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's perfect for the internet. You're able to develop a relationship with someone, and then when they need a service or a product, hey, Sheila Butler, so you're able to facilitate that. But truly, I have to give full credit to David Simon Garland. He was truly magical in my journey.
I love that. I listen to him as well, and he's actually the inspiration for me starting this show also. So I listen to him as well, and I love that, because another interesting thing about that is all of that education from him is free.
Exactly.
Now, yes, it kind of leads you into those other gurus, and you can get products from them. But you learn so much, and even if it is just one little nugget, I don't listen. I don't watch much TV. I don't listen to any radio anymore. Everything I listen to is educational podcasts.
Thank you. Yes,
I'm that same way, because it's free. I can gain just little bitty nuggets that I can apply to my business every day, and I love that.
Yeah, and that's me. I feel like we're on this journey one time, and I don't want to waste my time without learning something and being of value. And so I agree with you. Everything I can learn, and again, you're right, everything David provides is free. And I have bought some products from different people along the way to learn things, but it's also reasonable that it's amazing. You would pay 10 times that in trying to take a course in a semester, and this is totally targeted. It's totally targeted to the ideal client, which was me at the time. And I just take that and facilitate that and pass that on. So, yes.
I love that you said that. Now, so you are your own customer avatar. You were, a couple of years ago.
Absolutely.
What you were doing now.
And I tell people, my success story is perfect example of what you can do. Perfect, yes.
And I find a lot of times, and I'm guilty of this myself, I do have a LinkedIn account, but you probably would need to beef it up for me. So, but a lot of people, we're busy. So, we hear you need to start a LinkedIn account. You need to have a Twitter account. You need to have a Facebook account. Now you're on Pinterest. Right. The problem is a lot of us put those things up there, and then we don't tend to them very well.
Exactly.
Or we don't optimize them like we should.
Right. Well, here's my, and again, because we all offer a different perspective of it, and mine is totally with the relationships, I utilize LinkedIn as my social media platform, but my whole marketing tool. That's my personal marketing tool. So I have a website, but the intent is to get back to LinkedIn. I do Pinterest. The intent is to get back to LinkedIn, because my professional story, image, service, whatever you want to call it, is at LinkedIn. So I believe LinkedIn is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like the garage door opener. It makes life so much easier, because everything can be right there. I do Twitter, I do Facebook, but my LinkedIn is totally my individual marketing tool. My name is the same. Obviously, I'm off my name, Debbie Saviano, but my picture's the same across the social media platforms. My headline is there. So I'm very consistent, and that's what I teach my clients how to do. And I even use a badge. And, it says Debbie Saviano, obviously, but then it says, are you LinkedIn? I wear this everywhere, everywhere, because it invites conversation. It's a question. It's a silent conversation starter. I've gotten jobs from this. I teach my clients to do this, because everything about you is your story and what solutions you bring. So you put all that with LinkedIn, and you just totally spread that out across the universe.
I love that. I love the name badge.
Yeah, it's really cool. I can't tell you how effective it is.
I love that. So let me ask you, when someone starts on, like with LinkedIn, and you don't know much about it,
right?
Is it harmful to throw up a LinkedIn account and then not follow that? So what advice could you give someone when they're really just starting out, before they were able to find someone like you that has a service to provide?
Okay. I think that's a great question, Sheila, and I'm going to go back to David a little bit here and some of the others. What happens with women, and I just was in Washington, D.C. a few weeks ago and heard some very infamous, famous women who have been leaders in the political forum. They were given the example of, if you have a man and someone says to him, you'd be a good politician, he thinks tomorrow he can be president of the United States. You say that to a woman and she says, okay, well, I need to be the school board, and I need to do the county office, and I need to do the state. she wants to go through these steps to learn everything to be perfect. It's just in our nature, not good or bad, just our nature. So what I say is start. Just start. Take the first step, because each time you do something, you're going to learn along the way. But if you never take the first step, then you're not ever starting your journey or your process. So most of the people who hire me, I would say over 60% are doing exactly what you said. They did their profile, they started it, but they need help. So I say start it. Take the first step.
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, you have a lot of people out there that, when you're talking about internet marketing, is you've got to build a list. You've got to build a list. Take them to your website and build a list. Are you into that? I mean,
Yeah, that's such a great question. Thank you. Because no, I'm not into that. And the reason I'm not, and I always tell people, if you had 5 social media people stand in front of you, would give 5 different suggestions and backgrounds, because we all bring our own story to it. My whole world, I moved 20 sometimes growing up. I've never met a stranger. Every teacher says she talked too much on my report cards. So I love people. So I take it from relationships. I'm not an SEO girl. If you're looking for that, I'll tell you, I'm not your girl. Do I put keywords in? Absolutely. But I'm looking for proactive but passive. And what I mean by that is, I don't want to have to rely on a list on my website. I want people to come to me or to the client who's hired me. And so I teach people how to do that. I teach them how to go out there. When people hire me, they come to my LinkedIn profile. They're going to check my website out for credibility, but they come to my LinkedIn profile. They'll text me or email me because it's on there. I'm very accessible. They get in contact with me. Most of the time, I say I have over a 95% turn rate, and that's what I teach clients, because you want them coming to you. You want them to say, Sheila, I need your services. So I am not looking for lists. I'm looking for people to come to me because of relationships. And I work that out, and I call it LinkedIn land or internet land.
I love that. Every person that I've interviewed and talked with, and in general, has said that the key to their business is networking and building relationships.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely.
Number one.
Absolutely.
So,
and the reason for that is because there's so many people out there. You can't, I don't want to compete with that level. That's not what I'm doing. Right. I want to know the people. I'm either on Skype with them, on the phone with them, or in person with them.
Absolutely. I love that.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about what I love most about your story is that a couple of years ago, you two didn't know anything about LinkedIn, and now you're an expert. You're well known in the industry. You work with a lot of clients, and I love the fact that you said you just did it. So, what advice would you give someone out there that was you 2 years ago?
Okay, I think that you take advantage of that tribal community that's out there in social media land, if you will. If you have conferences in your area that you can go to, by all means go to them. If you can't, then do the webinars. Go follow David and listen to his radio shows, because he is a genius, of bringing on the right people. Take the first step and just do one thing every day. And people say, well, they think they have to have this big model, this big plan. What you should have, to me, is the end of the road where you want to be. What do you want? Do you want to be a radio host? Do you want to be an author? Do you want to be a speaker? And then every decision you make, is that going to get you there? I always tell people to have 3 goals in mind, 3 values, if you will. Mine is location independent, financial freedom, and the third one is helping people help themselves. So every decision I make, it has to fit those 3 things. If it doesn't, I don't do it. Am I perfect? No, by any means. But that's what I try for. And that's what I help clients see, is know where you want to go and what you want to do, and then just start taking those steps. Don't worry about having the big picture.
I love that.
Because you don't know enough to have the big plan yet.
And if you wait to learn everything, if you wait to be perfect, you'll never start.
And what will happen is the industry changes, especially with technology. You can't wait. I mean, what knew yesterday is different today. Every day I have to stay abreast of things that happen, because that's the way the world goes now. You can't wait and say, oh, I'm going to do it next year. Next year next week you'll be a dinosaur.
I love that.
Totally outdated.
So, like I said earlier, I have a LinkedIn profile, and when I first started it, I joined a couple of groups, but I found myself not being as active. So, what recommendations would you give somebody on being more active on LinkedIn? How should we use that as a business tool or to capture leads and clients?
Okay. Well, the first thing I tell people is it has to be a mindset. You have to change your thinking. Doing business in 2012 is totally different than last year. When we started doing business, we had the mom and pop shops. Then we had the little strip. And then we had the shopping mall. And then we had the big box stores. And now people are buying online. If you're still thinking the old way, you're not going to make it. So when I say that, I tell people, doing business today is not for the faint of heart. You have got to be willing to put the time in. I recommend 5 times a week, an hour a day. Now that may be in 30-minute segments. It might be 3 days versus 5 days, but I say 5 hours a week you need to put into social media. And with doing that, you're so right, Sheila, in the fact that you have to work it. You have to determine that if you're going to market yourself, go where the people are. Go where your potential clients are. And so go out there in discussion groups and never, and this is the other thing I preach, I'm so huge on this because of my psychology background. People do not, and I repeat, do not want to be sold to. They do not want someone knocking on their door, whether it's a computer door or their front door, being sold to. So I tell people and I teach my clients how to be a backdoor friend. Be a backdoor friend versus a door-to-door salesman because you want people to invite you in. So with that said, when you're out in internet world, always make deposits. And I'll give you the example of if you go to most LinkedIn profiles and most discussion groups, it's sell, sell, sell. So what does your mind do? Turns off, turns off, turns off. So I teach people how to make deposits and not withdrawals. A deposit is where you're giving stuff for nothing, for free. It's just value. The withdrawal is where you're asking for something in return. Do this, do that, do that. That's a withdrawal. If you saw me out in LinkedIn land, you would never know what I do. Never. Because my goal is one, and this is my goal for clients. I want someone to be curious enough to click on their profile. And as soon as they click on their profile, hook. If they can use your service or product, great. If they can't, you spread positive energy and you didn't waste their time.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Thank you.
So let's talk about, do you blog?
It's interesting. I started blogging because that was one of those things that I had, heard all these different people and I thought, oh, that looks so cool. I'm going to do that. It wasn't for me. It wasn't for me. But I did it. And I'm glad I did it because I realized it wasn't for me. If that's something that and again, everything I do now and everything I teach a client to do must always go back to your 3 goals, what it is you're wanting to achieve. And blogging wasn't in mine. So no, I don't blog.
Okay.
I don't.
Now, how do you?
I don't.
That's what's funny is I was a great daughter, terrible student, but I was a social butterfly. So
yes, me too.
I think my parents were really worried about me, but I did fine. I went on to get an MBA. I was okay. I have a couple of successful businesses, but the key to my success, in my opinion, is social skills,
absolutely,
networking, and building relationships. People want to work with people.
Yes, absolutely.
And so many big companies out there, even small companies, are the same way. They put up a web page or a blog or whatever, and it's so business structured or so salesy.
Right. People
want relationships.
Right.
And I wish that we could get that across to you. It's all about relationships.
Exactly. It's all about do you show, are you authentic in your caring for someone else? Because everyone wants to be cared for. Everyone wants to be respected and valued. And so when you show that, then people respond likewise to that. And I think that God in the universe, or however you call that, and whatever that is, I think that's what returns back to you. I'm very much about relationships with people. And yesterday was so interesting. I think it was yesterday. I posted something on Facebook, and it was very general because I was meeting a friend of mine who was in Dallas. And so I posted it. I had a contact I have in Africa, in Kenya, had responded to me. Susan from Renee's in Africa. Susan's in Spain. Joe is in England. Debbie's in Houston. Trying to think who was in California. And then Valerie in Tennessee. All these people can respond and connect with you from around the world.
I love that.
What a gift. Talk about points of light. I mean, it's huge.
Exactly. I totally agree. So let's go back to a couple of years ago when you decided you were going to do this, and then you realized you had a gift for it. You're obviously very gifted and talented, so you said, I'm going to turn this into a business.
Okay.
So how did you get your first client?
My first client came to me on LinkedIn, and the comment was, can you do for me what you've done for you? And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's
Yes.
the niche. And so then I started analyzing, because as I told you, I hadn't planned it. I just was doing it for education and for fun and for learning, for personal. And I realized, and that's when I sat down and I took a piece of paper. I can still remember doing it in my office. And I took the technology side and I took the business side, and I thought, these people aren't together. So I can be the intermediary here. So I sat down and I said, okay, I took my story, what I had done with my own, and that's where I developed how I could help someone else. And again, because of my minor in psychology and the degree there, I know how people engage. I know how you retain someone on a page. I know where the eye goes. I know how people learn to read. So because of all that, you take all that in backward design, if you will, and you develop the process you're going to go for. I mean, how many words on the sentence before your mind shifts over? All those things, I've taken the science of what I know and turned into the art of redesigning people's profiles.
I love that. So, and have all of your customers pretty much come from LinkedIn or word of mouth?
Last year, yes. In December, pardon me, I can still remember sitting on the couch with my husband, and I was thinking, babe, I just feel like I need to get out and meet more people, because everyone was coming here. And so I chose some networking groups locally. And so I have people in the community, but I would say my base really is more internet, because that's what I do. And I had someone call me this week from Utah who hired me. I had someone call me from Idaho. So you get out there and people contact you. So it's a mix, but I would say it's heavier on internet.
I love that.
Because that's what I do.
that's how you roll. That's what you do.
Exactly.
So what I love is that I think women, which is my passion for this show, and the reason for this show is that I think, especially women, we don't sometimes realize the gifts that we have and the talents that we have. And like you turned your education, and I mean, you had a complete career that you were very successful at and probably really enjoyed. But you've gone totally a different direction now. And you did it. You can, and you did. You took those talents and turned them into something else.
Right. Well, for example, I will have women who, I just had someone hire me from California. She had a career. She did a few jobs, but then she stayed home with her family, which is very, very common for women, that she stayed home with her family. Well, now she wants to re-enter the workforce. And she says, but I don't really have any experience. I said, oh, yes, you do. You're a chief life officer.
That's right.
She's been the financier. She's done everything. So because we don't see ourselves, we take the things we do for granted. The first thing I say to someone is, what do your friends or your family come to you for? That's the launching pad for where your strengths are. And the beauty of LinkedIn is you're able to list all that from everything you do. It's not like you have to have just a job. It's because when someone hires, and I always give the example, no one cares I have a master's degree. They don't care about that. What do they want to know? Can I do the LinkedIn profile? Can I deliver that? But those years in education helped give me the skill set to do what I do. So it's showing people how to take those experiences, turn them around. And the common thing I get, almost without a doubt, over 50% of the time, someone emails me or calls me and says, who in the holy heck is this person? I said, it's you. Because we don't see ourselves. So I'm a storyteller. I tell your story and put it in a way where someone can relate to you and want to sell or buy your product or your service. So
I could see that being so valuable, especially with women, because we do not toot our own horns.
Oh, absolutely not.
We're
absolutely
terrible at that.
We're terrible. Yes.
And even when we try to, I bet that I would love to see the difference in the LinkedIn profile that someone delivers to you and then what you deliver to them afterwards.
Right. You're right, Sheila, because people don't see themselves. And I don't want to say that. It sounds like I'm bragging. Well, you should be bragging. If you don't believe in yourself, who's going to believe in you? But we can't do it. So that's where I come in. I tell the story.
That's terrific.
I ask the questions in a way that they never realize until it's totally done. I mean, I want to know about your pets. I want to know about your children. I want to know about where you've lived, because all that's your story, and that makes you who you are. If you lived in Alaska, well, you have a certain skill set that other people don't have. The fact you can get up every morning and go shovel snow, or the fact you can live with so many months of daylight.
Exactly.
That sounds weird, but that gives you a certain ability to do certain things. So, yeah.
That's terrific. So let me ask you, when someone has a really well-designed LinkedIn profile, how do you hear back from your customer? Are they seeing an increase in business? Are they feeding their funnel more?
Absolutely. Because what happens, there's two approaches to it. The first one is you have to have a strong profile that when someone clicks on it, they know within 6 seconds what services or solutions you bring to the table. So the first one is the strong profile. The second portion is knowing how to work that out in LinkedIn land, on the groups and discussions, on the questions and answers. It's a whole world out there of potential clients. I'll give you an example. I'll use myself. Last week, I was going to a conference in Austin, had someone who gave me an invite to connect on LinkedIn, looked at his profile, said, looks good, sent it, connected. Then and I teach my clients, I sent back a note to him saying, thank you for the invite. Great to meet you. I made mention of 2 connections we had because of his profile. Have a great day. Okay. That was on Wednesday. Thursday morning, he texts me because my phone's on my profile. He texts me and says, I'd really like to talk to you about your services. I said, great, I'm going into a conference. I'm available from 11 to 1. He says, great, I'll call you. He calls me at 11:01. By 12:30, he had hired me, and we were on the next step. I would never have known him had he not reached out to me that way. And there's so many stories like that with my clients because it's a whole world. You talk about your oyster, it is your oyster. But you have to put your feelers out there and your little things out there so people click back and know who you are. But then when they click, they have to know who you are and what you do. What solutions do you bring to them?
That's terrific advice. So let me ask you this: how you've been wonderful about narrowing down your niche. So some of us out there, like I'm sometimes shiny red ball syndrome. Ooh, I love that. I love that. I love that. And I'm just very entrepreneurial. Therefore, that's a problem for me sometimes. So I think one thing that you did well that other women can learn from is know what that is. You've got to narrow it down.
Right. Well, a lot of times people say, because I'll say someone, just talking, I say, well, who's your target client? Who's your ideal client? And they say, well, the world, everybody. And I say, oh, no, it's really not. And I give the example, every successful company knows within a hairline of who their target client is. Gender, age, income, because they have to be able to afford the service you're offering or the product you're selling, location, interest. For example, mine is 35 and above, male or female. Minimum income of $85,000 a year. These are the 2 key ones, though. They're lifelong learners, they're curious, and they want results. Because, see, everything I post, someone would have to be a curious person to click back, because that's how I post. So each client I take, I show them how to identify their target client, down to taking pieces of pictures and putting it on a piece of paper. Because every time they post, I tell them, you're talking to your target client. Never forget that. Don't worry about those other people, just your target client. So having it in front of them, that's where the education background comes in, the curriculum design. Have that in front of you so you never forget. Once you do it enough, you don't need the pictures and the reminders, but you do in the beginning because, oh, that looks pretty. No, that looks cool. And I'm going to talk to that person. No, stay focused. Stay focused. And I give the example that if you go hunting, of course, I'm in Texas, so let's talk about hunting here. If you go hunting, you're not just out firing that gun across the field. You're looking for a deer, okay? So you're aiming for a target. If you just randomly fire, you'll never hit the target. So having that target client in focus does just that. It helps you hit the target. So, yeah.
That's fantastic advice. I love that.
Thank you.
So listen, if someone wanted to hook up with you, where would be the best place? This is almost a silly question, but I know it's LinkedIn, but go ahead and let us know.
It's Debbie, Debbie Saviano, Saviano, of course, on LinkedIn. My email is debbiesaviano@yahoo.com. My website is debbiesaviano.com. So, again, if you're local, shoot me an email and we can talk. If you're in Brazil or wherever, shoot me a invite to connect on LinkedIn. And again, regardless, I highly encourage your listeners to utilize LinkedIn, because you can, if you have a product or a service that you don't need a radius of here, you can use that in one way. But then if you have a broader range, you're reaching potential clients you would never have the ability to meet. Just like I told you the example, and there's so many stories I could tell with clients and I pretty much do every industry, but there's so many people out there that you can connect with. So connect with me. Invite me to connect on LinkedIn.
And we will actually link everything up as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This has been fabulous. But now I'm going to go back because I have another question.
Okay.
You have all of this great knowledge, but you're one person. And how do you ever plan on doing any products or anything like that that's like some of the stuff that maybe you've taken similar classes in the past? Do you plan on doing anything like that?
Yes, thank you, Shelia, for asking. I do speaking. And I love to speak because I love people and I love the energy you can provide, and I love to entertain, if you will. Educate and entertain, the two things you want to do. But I'm working on product because there is only one me.
Sure.
So I'm trying to do that to where people can take that. And it's a 5-module step, and I'm through my third one, and so I'm getting there.
That's terrific.
Yes,
and what we'll do is when you do get that out, we'll link that up again because
Okay,
I think
right.
it's
Thank you.
valuable information.
Right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Because not everybody is like me. Now you're going to go today and look at my LinkedIn profile, and you're going to send me like we really need to chat.
But that's the beauty of it. You can do so many things and help so many different people. And my friend that's here from Minnesota, who I've known for that I met through social media, it's the same thing. We can stay connected, and do all these things we couldn't do if we didn't have social media.
Exactly.
We couldn't do it if we didn't have it. So thank you.
You are welcome. And one more before we sign off, I want to say that the thing I love about this interview the most is that you have showed people that they can do something, women, that you have a talent, turn that into something if you want to.
Exactly.
Go for it. But then the other side of that is you've also taught us about the importance of LinkedIn. So if anyone needs LinkedIn services like Shelia, then we can seek you out in that way as well. But this has been extremely educational. So I certainly appreciate you spending your time with us today.
Thank you. It was so nice to be here, and I appreciate so much the opportunity. Thank you.
And have a terrific day.
Listeners. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye now.